Welcome to the Tipping Points. I'm your host, Barry Dennis, with my co-hosts,
Christy Clausen.
John McKeon.
Our goal is to bring you news, maybe even news that you've heard of, maybe some ideas you haven't, but more than that, what doesn't happen in most news programs is to give ideas that help challenge us, to enrich us, and to make us think maybe a little differently. Our mission is to
Seek truth.
Spread love.
Equifax. Let me educate you.
Okay.
It goes.
I've heard a lot about it lately, but I try to stay on top of things, but I haven't really stayed on top of them.
What I'd like to talk about is really what people know about and what people don't know about Equifax, and how we are beholden. They're beholden to us. They owe us a sacred trust to protect our information, and yet, in an instant, it's gone. And why do we allow that to happen time and time again? Who holds these people accountable?
Now, why are they holding our information? Who are they?
Okay.
Why do they have my information?
Right, so there's 3 or 4 agencies that have the information about your financial situation. So anytime you buy something, you get a credit card, you buy a car, you get a mortgage for a house, you miss a payment, these people collect that information and they give you a FICO score. And you are
the FICO score, okay.
So you become a FICO score. So if
Got it.
you're a 500, your interest rates might be higher on your loan.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 750, they're going to come to you and offer you credit cards without end.
Right.
But it goes much deeper than that. Why did the people that steal this information want it? Some people think it's for identity theft, but I truly believe it's not for that at all. The way they're monetizing this information is by using it to get into your bank account, into your trading, your stocks, your investments. So these are the questions that when I call my bank and I say I want to do a transaction or transfer money, they're going to ask me the questions that these people stole. So really, identity theft is one part of it, but the way they're really going to monetize it is through stealing your assets.
So they're gonna hack into my life through Equifax.
Yes.
Then they're gonna be able to get into my bank account.
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Because I haven't. Yeah, I don't know much about this.
But the downside, here's the thing that really steams me, is that I'm held accountable for my personal finance, and these guys are the gatekeepers,
Right.
and yet they do not honor me in a way that protects me from them.
Right.
And
But the onus is on you to defend yourself.
yes,
If they have an error on their end, but when they do have the error and they're the cause of this, there's this breach, then they should.
well, so when they have an error, it's up to me to prove to them
Right.
that I did not do the things that they said I've done. But when they have an error, do they need to prove anything to me?
No, right,
No.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And another thing is, so if we look deeper into this, here's what really stews me, and this is something that is not being told by the media in any great deal of any way that I've seen or noticed, is that the principals of the company knew about this, and before it was publicly announced, they were
Right.
selling their stock.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
And then they announced it. What happened to the stock? It tanks. But so they've done the same thing Martha Stewart's done. Martha Stewart spent 2 years in jail. What's happening to these people?
Right. Well, I think Martha Stewart's probably much less than what they did.
Oh,
right?
God.
She didn't really do much. She
No.
just got put in jail.
She was a scapegoat.
And
She was a scapegoat, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're kind of getting off the track of what really is happening here. And this is not just Equifax. It's Target. It's Sony. In fact, I think we've become so desensitized to this that nobody even notices anymore.
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's like we could just do a whole nother segment on
Right.
Wells
Wells
Fargo.
Fargo.
Yeah, I just
Twice.
got my letter. I
Yes.
guess I can participate in a class action suit and get my $20.
Exactly.
Well, that's why there's no accountability to us individually, because even though there's masses of us, you're going to get $20 out of it.
Maybe.
So, right.
So now I want to ask you. Now, well, first of all, you've had a personal experience. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I had a loan that we took out, and someone intercepted the mail, and then from that took bank account, took the ATM card because it came separate, but they were stealing mail, so they took everything out in my name and in my ex-husband's name and in my 3-month-old baby's name.
Your 3-month-old baby's name.
Yes, she had many credit cards taken out in her name.
3-year-old.
3-month-old.
3-month-old.
Mhm.
Yes.
We had ATM cards that were taken, and they went from one single like little ATM to another kiosk ATM to another one, and took out the $300 maximum that you could do from each one in succession. They have videotape of that, and then told us that we were responsible for all of that.
So let me get this straight. They took out credit in your name or your 3-month-old baby's name.
Yes.
And then they were able to get a card that they could use to get money that didn't exist.
Right. They took it out when there was no cash in there. The cash was dispensed to them from multiple around the city ATM kiosks. And then we were held responsible for that.
So
to prove that it wasn't us. We weren't even in town at the time.
So isn't a company like Equifax charged with protecting you from this happening? Okay.
No, it's my onus to defend myself that I didn't do it.
Then why do we give our information to companies like
Right,
Equifax?
exactly.
Right. So my question now, John, being more the expert, maybe Christy, you have some ideas too, because what we want to do is empower any of our viewers.
Right.
You know, it's more than just, we want to give news, but we also want to empower. So what can we do to safeguard ourselves from this happening, from what happened to you? What, John, what can we, how should we be different?
There's an extremely effective way to protect yourself from this type of fraud.
Okay.
Although it's inconvenient, and that's you can simply call each of the credit bureaus and tell them to lock your account.
Okay.
And when somebody tries to get credit in your name, or even if you go to try to buy something, they will not divulge the information, and therefore you will not get the credit card, you will not get the car, you'll not get the house until you contact them, prove who you are, and take the lock off of your account, which can take 2 days. So if I want to buy something, I have to think ahead, well enough ahead of time to be able to go take that lock off, and then I have to remember to put that lock back on. So it's extremely inconvenient. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it's the most effective way to protect yourself.
I think there's a better way.
You tell me. You say, I know. I think there's a better way too. Go.
Mine is more extreme. I think we should just pay cash and forget all about it.
In fact, you should destroy your FICO score.
You should just be
get off the
all
grid.
Cash. Get off the grid. That was the next thing I was going to say. Get off the grid and just pay cash.
Yeah.
It's an interesting balance, isn't it? I mean, because I know I know that's like my brain was like just cut the cord. But you know,
it's almost impossible.
I can see myself rolling into the car dealership with $50,000 in cash.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
No, but I mean,
if you can get in, you're not mugged down the street before you get there.
But we live in a world, you know. Today, I mean, I find myself dancing in my own personal life, just as a general response to what you both have said. I know that there are ways that I do try to disconnect myself from what we generically today call the grid.
Yeah.
There's things that I do, and cash sometimes is a way that I do it. One of the things that I've done throughout my life to try to disconnect myself is not to use credit cards for credit. Ever.
Right.
Ever. In my life, I've always used credit cards just because they give you this convenience. But never for
don't forget the miles.
Borrowing.
Right.
For miles, for whatever, but never to actually get a loan off my credit cards. Like, I've never done that. And that disconnects me from being in debt, but also from this whole sort of strings attached to my life. A way to cut ourselves off from the grid, to keep these kind of things happening. One of the ways that, I mean, my suggestion, it's a little off topic, but it's still on, is that, you know, we live a life within our means. We live a life really close to our means. There's a time to loan, but we, of course, have gone, as a culture, we've gone way overboard in how much we're willing to kind of bet our whole life on the bank or whatever.
It goes a little deeper than that. It's instant gratification.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we live in this world where we think that we'll be happy with this thing, so we instant gratify, and all it does is create misery. And when you get in debt, it's just incredible
But
misery.
Barry, when I get the thing, it's only good for 2 or 3 days. Then I need a new thing.
Then I need a new thing. That's right.
It lasts 2 or 3 days?
Well, sometimes.
Wow.
If it's a big thing.
Okay, so
Like if I get a new car, you know, it's like a 5-day rush.
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
You gotta go to get another $50,000 rush.
I have to go buy another car.
yeah, and obviously, if we can learn to find the rush within, or in other words, find the true value of ourself and our soul and all that, then we're much less likely to get caught up in all these problems. And we're going off target some ways, but it's still related.
No, I think it's relevant.
Yeah.
Because it's all this monster that we've created to enable ourselves to put ourselves into debt and get instant gratification is the heart of the problem.
I think it is.
We've
I think
created
it is the heart of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the great takeaway from Equifax, the lesson of Equifax right now is, I suppose, the closest I'm getting it, is to empower ourselves, and anybody who's watching, is to work really hard at being independent from the trappings, certainly from the instant gratification, all those things, and use things for the gift that they have, because credit cards are wonderful. It's a great, easy way. I almost never use cash, but only using it in ways that sort of work in the direction of independence and joy and ease. Don't get ourselves in the trap of being in debt or getting caught in that trap.
Excellent advice.
So there's been all these hurricanes, and right now there's an earthquake going on in Mexico. A lot of crazy things happening. But there's always a flip side. So what would you say is the flip side?
It's the compassion. It's the reaching out. You see people that in their everyday lives wouldn't turn around and even talk to the people that they're helping, reaching out a hand to. But all of a sudden, it's the compassion for people in a dilemma that's oftentimes life-threatening, but if not life-threatening, certainly uncomfortable. And yet, I'm reaching out to you. I don't know you, but I'm reaching out to you and embracing you and helping you move on in your life.
Yeah, in times of tragedy, you always see what I think is really, it's like it breaks through in sort of an ego layer, right?
Good way to put it.
Yeah, it breaks through all the pettiness that we carry with us throughout our days and our judgments that we have.
Yeah, all the layers.
All the layers just disappear.
But I think the judgment is really the thing, because if you call it racism, or if you call it economic differences, or if you call it whatever you call it, it really comes down to judgment and our perception of how we see other people, and that just gets wiped out
in an instant.
Yeah.
It's so in all of these moments of tragedy, it's almost like every time I always think they're always asking us to step up. Of course, the challenge is to try somehow to stay in that consciousness, right?
Yeah.
That state of mind without the tragedy.
Yes, why do we need tragedy
Right.
to break down those barriers and reach out as humans one to another?
Yeah. Well, you said ask us to step up. That's what we have to do in our daily life. But in this situation, nobody needs to be asked. Everybody steps up.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to be asked. People just step up.
Do.
Yeah. The circumstance just calls forth this essence. It really breaks down everything, doesn't it? It's almost like in my mind. Go ahead.
Well, it's hard to understand what compels a person who lives 1,000 miles away to suddenly drop their lives.
Right.
They're not impacted whatsoever. Their life is rosy
Right.
and everything is going on as normal. But they drop everything and drive for 10 hours or 12 hours to go help people that they'll never ever see again.
Right.
Yeah. With the hurricanes, the image that came to my mind as we were discussing it, the idea of that ego and prejudice and all that, I suddenly had an image of rain. And with that rain, I literally saw this in my mind as we were discussing. In my mind, I saw rain, and then I saw the color just washing off of everyone's face. So there were no colors. It was clear, just clear. Like everyone's skin was clear. It wasn't black, white, brown, whatever color we choose to say people are. It was just clear, washed away by the storm.
But also washed away the socioeconomic trappings.
Right.
So I'm not my car, I'm not my clothing, right? I'm not my job.
That's right. Exactly. You're right.
Yeah. It's a cleansing.
It's a cleansing. It's a baptism.
That's right.
And of course, our ego is caught up in our clothes and our car and our job and all those things, and our color and who I am and what I do. But in those moments, it all washes away. So let's take a look at the flip side.
You guys just jumping in to help out?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, where are you coming from?
Texas City.
Texas City.
Yes, sir.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna try to save some lives.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's horrible, isn't it? Yes, sir.
Where are you taking them? Higher ground?
Yeah, it's a car. Right ahead of us. It's a car right ahead of us.
Oh my god! That's a car!
I don't know how strong the winds have to be to cut a palm tree in half, but that's what happened to the top of this tree. But next to it, we got Old Glory. I can't let Old Glory just sit here like that. The school, yeah, it's battered. So is the flag, but we've got to fold this up. Make sure this isn't a casualty to Hurricane Harvey.
Kudos, incredible kudos to these two sheriff's deputies who are risking themselves on this boat in very deep water to pull this driver to safety. We want to thank all first responders who are out there, who are doing the same, who are risking their lives. These deputies, they weren't on their way here. Thank goodness they were in the right place at the right time. I saw them coming on Beltway 8. I flagged them down, told them about the situation, and now they are here saving this man's life. You see him throwing some of his stuff to them.
How you doing, sir? You want to give me your hand, sir, and I can try to pull you up? How are your arms feeling? Jason, you want to come up here and help?
I can help lift you if that's okay. Okay, you ready?
Ready? Got it?
And here he comes. I feel like I can finally breathe. Kind of a sigh of relief that he is okay. So thank you to everyone out there, all police, all fire, all sheriff's deputies, any other agencies who are out there, neighbors who are taking in neighbors, who are helping folks who get stranded. Thank you.
You look great. Not the perfect fold, but definitely a rescue from Hurricane Harvey.
So let's try to consciously begin to live our lives on the flip side. Instead of waiting for a catastrophe to open our hearts, let's open our hearts to each other so we don't need a catastrophe to remind us of what really matters. So I hope you've enjoyed this moment, this tipping point moment. And if you have, please hit like and then subscribe so you can join us on this journey of seeking truth and spreading love. Next week, among other things, we're going to take a close look at Antifa and, ironically, the debate of free speech.